Okay. Just as a reminder before we get started, this channel And all social media and everything related to it on the internet is for educational purposes only, or perhaps entertainment purposes only. It's always important to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. So, I was hoping to get to this yesterday, but it definitely wasn't possible. So today, we're going to move along into, it says part 5, but we're in part 6. So I'll change that while we're doing a quick little intro here. So it's the cover-to-cover commentary of Michael Newton's Memory of the Afterlife. And pretty sure this next segment starts off with a doozy. There's been quite a few of them, actually. But looking forward to diving right into this. Not sure how long we're going to be able to go. Probably be about 2 hours today. So, or it could even be less. So we'll just try to get to as much as we can. So just going to try to go right into it. I hope everyone out there is doing well. Normally I'd say hello, but I'd like to just dive in and get through what we can get through. Okay. So here we go.
17. A Volunteer for Murder by Lynn McGonigal, Sarasota, Florida. Works to bring people's lives into alignment with their soul intentions. Memories from childhood illustrate wonderfully how our early years groom us for our adult challenges. Many people seem to feel their childhood was difficult and even painful. When they realize we choose our parents, siblings, and earthly environment, they exclaim, "Oh no, not me. I would never have chosen that for myself." Yet when placed into the context of their life's work, their soul's plan for their life, each person's unique childhood is the perfect preparation for that work. So it is for Kia, who is being prepared for the central purpose of her life, for doing what's right regardless of criticism. She discovers during her LBL how it also prepared her for the death of her son. Kia, a loving grandmother and kindergarten teacher, came to me roughly 1 year after her son Evan's death. Evan, a 26-year-old taxi driver in the Tampa Bay area, was brutally murdered by a total stranger, a passenger in his cab. Almost immediately after his passing, Kia felt his presence around her, confirming that he was okay. Although she was most grateful for these visits, they didn't fully satisfy her. She was still deeply grieving and having difficulty accepting his body's death. As it is for everyone, Kia's guides directed much of her soul experience during the Life Between Lives, LBL, process. The events her superconsciousness mind delivered for her review were perfectly selected to heal her deep wounds.
So the guides, again, this is the Matrix marketing department stepping in and normalizing the murder of her son. Or child, I think it was a son, right? This is the type of bonkers stuff that this realm loves to forgive and just pass off as, oh yeah, but remember, God loves you, Jesus loves you, Buddha, Muhammad, all these little deities out there, your angels, your soul group, and the guides, the council, they all love you. But when it comes to, it's like what they try to do is unravel the pain and suffering by normalizing it and explaining it away. It's just sick. It's so sick. And think about how many parents have to go through this type of horrible suffering, let alone like the person who actually goes through the suffering, right? Anyways.
Regression, in which the client revisits events from their current life's childhood, one finds the start of the healing process. The first glimpse of Kia's childhood at age 14 targets the very heart of Kia's pain. She receives insight that she must find sources of comfort in other people and other places, exactly what we must do to survive the death of a loved one. We need to find solace in everyday occurrences to overcome such a life-changing event. Here, at the very start of the process, her soul is already opening up to healing.
Yeah.
Kia, age 14. I am with my sister. We are in the woods, and it looks like we are carving on a tree. I am feeling anxious. Lynn, what is it that is making you feel anxious right now? Kia, our parents are fighting again. Lynn, are you in the woods because your parents are fighting, or is there another reason? Kia, I go to the woods for solitude. Does it help you get peaceful to be in the woods? Kia, yes. Lynn, what is important for us to understand about this moment right now? Kia, to find sources of comfort in other people and other places. Lynn, is this the time in your life when you are learning how to do this? At age 14, learning how to find sources of comfort where they show themselves? Or is this a skill you already know quite well? Kia, I am already learning it. Lynn, learning and practicing, is that it? Kia, yes. Let's go a bit further back in time with Kia for another example. Kia, age 5. I am in class, talking with the teacher. Lynn, and how are you feeling? Happy, sad, or some other way? Kia, there are kids who break the rules. I want to see what it's like to break the rules, because I won't break the rules. Lynn, yes, and what is your teacher saying about this, about breaking the rules?
Don't break the rules. Don't question anything. Just go along with the show. Don't break the rules. Listen to your guides. Do as you're told. And don't even think about a sovereign mindset.
That you shouldn't break the rules. She says stand in the corner to see how it feels, but I didn't break the rules. Lynn,
That's
are you seeing how it
extreme.
feels?
Exactly.
Kia, yes, the bad boy is making fun of me. It is making me mad because I didn't do anything, but he is still making fun of me, and he breaks all the rules. Lynn, yes, what is important to understand about this? Kia, people will say stuff about you, even if you do what's right. Only later in the process of Kia's life between lives visualization do we discover how relevant this message is. Kia's elders tell her what her soul's mission is and how Evan's death plays a crucial role in her life plan. They tell her she will have to overcome her fears and that she will have to overcome rejection and criticism. Here, at this very early stage of the experience, they give her a preview of that central message.
So you'll have to overcome rejection and criticism when it's baked into the cake in both worlds. Yeah, that makes sense. See, like, this is like an interesting detail, and I'd suggest looking at it this way. We've seen all sorts of examples of people, true essence beings, who end up reincarnating over and over and over, and they're working on like one specific thing or a couple different things. And then it's like what they'll do is they roll out like the next thing that someone needs to work on. Like, oh, whatever the case may be. Like you got to work on rejection or being made fun of or hate or anger or whatever it is. Empathy we've seen before. I've talked about that a bunch of times. Or compassion. All these different little things. Just think about how long they can bait us with these small little bullshit things. And meanwhile, you're coming here, you're memory wiped, you're traversing through this realm in a meat suit that is programmable and capable of being deceived at every which turn. It's got pain and suffering and everything baked into it. And yet, they make it sound like, oh, this is just this. Hey, it's just part of the journey. You've got to learn, you got to grow, You got to work on that compassion. You got to work on that anger or whatever the heck it is. And just think how often, lifetime after lifetime, they could just keep pulling this crap. And yet you come here and you're memory wiped. How are you learning and growing? I know we talk about this all the time, but how the hell can you learn and grow when we're being memory wiped? It just defies logic. It's super logic. Anyways. Kind of ranting, but...
Already beginning to understand that people will form their own opinions and judge you even if you haven't done anything wrong. Just as our childhoods prepare us for our main purpose, we prepare ourselves over many lifetimes. And just as our souls show us applicable glimpses into childhood, They show us relevant snippets of other lives during the LBL experience.
Yep.
Kia prepares for the challenge of a murdered son in at least 3 other lifetimes, which she views during our work together.
Oh, my
First,
God.
Kia reviews a past life as Sarah, who left a comfortable, pampered life in Europe to immigrate with her new husband to the New World. She has already seen that her...
Okay, so this is my opinion, right? And I kind of don't remember how the whole thing goes with this case, but okay, so she's had to deal with a few lifetimes now of her son getting murdered. So it's continually reinforcing that some of these things we live through over and over and over again until, quote unquote, we get it right. Okay? Now, an interesting part in this is how they're saying, like, you know, in one of the lives, you know, lived a very pampered life, upscale type life, and then moved, right? So that could be the trade-off. Like, oh, you'll have a portion of this life where, you know, you'll be living high off the hog. You know, you won't have many worries and this and that. But later on, you're going to have a son, and he's going to be murdered. These are the types of trade-offs that can occur that we see in, like, pre-birth memories. See it with life between lives with the planning stage, like kind of what we're discussing right now, the life between lives account, or technically reincarnation past lives, but it's all kind of funnels into the same thing. So it's, you have to ask yourself, how can we on the other side be so ignorant? How? In my opinion, there's only one answer for this, and that's that the memory wipe exists over there. We've seen in quite a few NDEs where there's an open admission that people are essentially forgetting or not as concerned with their life on Earth as they continue to go through their experience. And we've seen open admissions of the memory wipe more times than I can count that occur in NDEs. So, you know, for those that think like, oh, you know, I'll just go through the light, and or I'll tell it to go, you know, pound sand or something like that, I'm going to fight it and blah, blah, blah. Good luck. Good luck. I think it's a horrible decision, and I think it's a risky decision, because who in their right mind is going to agree to keep reincarnating and having to go through that much suffering with the murder of a child? And of course, yeah, we can talk about the whole karma aspect of this. Perhaps there's things that, you know, she did in previous lifetimes that were horrible, and that the Matrix set it all up, and it played out, and of course they flipped the script on her, and now she has to deal with all that suffering, right? But you got, again, where is someone standing up for themselves? Where is someone asserting themselves and doing what they need to do to say, I'm done. I'm done with this clown show. I'm done with this. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. We don't see that. We don't see that. In NDEs, about the most we see are those saying that, I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back to Earth. Well, we do see it with pre-birth memories too. Like, and even some reincarnation cases where they say, like, they didn't want to come back. We see that. That's there. That's because they know the type of hell they're going to be dealing with. But why can't they assert themselves outside of that in the astral? That's because they're too far gone. They're too deep into the illusion, and there's the memory wipe component to it too. So the memory wipe isn't just here. It's in the astral, and it's because we continually give this system the attention and the energy that it wants. Deny it, cut it off at the knees, non-interference all the way, and we've got a much better chance of doing what we need to do for us. Stop feeding it, assert your dominance over the entire situation, and never look back.
Pampered life in Europe to immigrate with her views during our work together. First, Kia reviews a past life as Sarah, who left a comfortable, pampered life in Europe to immigrate with her new husband to the New World. She has already seen that her life in the colonies has loneliness and some disappointment in it. Kia, Sarah. I am tired. I have to do a lot of things that I did not have to do before. Washing, cooking, sewing, cleaning. Lynn. What else is important for us to understand about this period in your life, Sarah? Kia, Sarah. I miss my family and friends. It's very lonely. Lynn. Move forward to the most important event in this life as Sarah, the most significant event in Sarah's lifetime. How are you feeling now? Kia, Sarah. I am full of joy. I learned to make the best of what I had and be happy. We choose to be happy or not in life. Lynn. That is beautiful. Happiness is our choice, is that it? Kia, Sarah. Yes. Lynn. And you have made the choice, Sarah, to be happy? Kia, Sarah. Yes. Lynn. Is this the most significant event of your life, having made the choice to be happy? Kia, Sarah. Yes. This illustrates something else that is often seen when working with insightful clients. The most significant event in a lifetime isn't necessarily an external occurrence. It can be, as it was for Sarah long ago, a choice, an internal happening, a choice to be happy regardless of circumstance. This message and preparation for Evan's passing in Kia's current life is echoed in the manner of Sarah's death. In this past life, she dies as a young mother, leaving behind 4 children and a husband who loves her deeply. On her deathbed, she has another epiphany, this time about the people she is leaving behind. Kia, Sarah. I am very, very sick and in bed. I am exhausted and weak. Lynn. What do you think is going to happen? Kia, Sarah. I am going to go on, to die. Lynn. How are you feeling about that? Kia, Sarah. I don't want to leave my children, and I am pregnant. Lynn. Oh, I am sorry. Do you have any awareness of what is significant about this, other than your health situation? Kia, Sarah. They will all need to choose to be happy, won't they? Death is hard, no matter when or how it comes, for the people left behind. This is true for all of us. We can choose to be happy in bad traffic, when we don't get the raise we want, or when our husband leaves us. And it is certainly true for Kia in her current life. She can choose to be happy even though her only son was murdered. How healing it is for Kia to receive this vital reminder during her LBL, to choose to be happy. Still later in the session, Kia reviews an earlier lifetime as Elizabeth, in which she herself is murdered. Here she is given an entirely different viewpoint. The story begins as Kia admires her reflection.
Okay, so now we're seeing it in reverse, right? It begs a question about what led up. What led up to that? I'm pretty firmly convinced that we have probably all been put through the ringer in almost every situation you can imagine. Maybe there's some exceptions, right? Maybe some figure it out sooner than others. But I think kind of like once you kind of agree to come in here, I'm talking about the initial time you come in here, just to be clear, because my words love to get twisted all the time. But what I mean by agreeing and consenting to come in here, I think it's when we first get here. But I really truly believe that, we've played all sorts of roles, experienced all sorts of hardships and trauma that it's hard to even fathom. And and you just gotta, it begs the question, what's the point? What's the point? When is enough enough? Enough is enough now. This lifetime. It's over. No more reincarnating ever again.
In which she herself is murdered. Here she is given an entirely different viewpoint. The story begins as Kia admires her reflection. Kia Elizabeth. I think I must be vain. I am enjoying how attractive I think I look. I have very thick, long golden hair, wavy at the ends, very slender, very, very beautiful in this pretty dress. Lynn. Where are you? Kia Elizabeth. It is like a big empty castle with this incredible stream of light, and only me. There was a fight. It was here at the castle. I think I am already dead. Lynn. And do you know that you are dead, or are you confused about it? Kia Elizabeth. I think I was confused. The castle is empty. I think it must have been a little while since the fight. I think I was carrying on like nothing happened, but it did. I think I died as a result of the fighting. I was raped and stabbed.
Ugh,
Lynn.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. How long has it been since then? Kia Elizabeth. 2, maybe 3 years. Many died that day, and those who were left said the castle was haunted. There used to be others who had died too, but I am the only one left.
Interesting to hear that it was haunted. Sometimes with hauntings, if you get the wrong personality or combination of the wrong personality in combination with a certain life script, they can be more likely to be influenced by the entities in the haunted area. So that's definitely something that's on the table. Whether it's true or not, who knows? I mean, obviously you got to take every case with a grain of salt, but again, everything goes to the patterns, and that's where we get the truth. We see a consistency there that crosses other experiencer categories. So, make of it what you will. But so far, I'm not like looking at this like it's a story, like necessarily like a BS story. But let's move on.
Many died that day, and those who were left said the castle was haunted. There used to be others who had died too, but I am the only one left. Lynn. What are your plans now, Elizabeth? Kia Elizabeth. Well, I think maybe I should see about this light. Interestingly, the deepest insight about this lifetime was not experienced as we worked together, but instead it came to Kia 4.5 months later in an episode of spontaneous recall. Kia wrote it down at the time and shared it with me recently. I sensed the real importance of this life was for me to realize the manner of death was insignificant, that though I had been raped and murdered, I felt nothing and was unscathed when I returned home to the spirit world.
And that's part
It
of the
was
problem.
important for me to realize that this was so for Evan, too, that despite how horrific his whole death scene was, he did not feel it and returned to heaven unscathed, whole and clean.
Heaven.
It did not matter. This beautiful and significant insight that came to Kia months after her official LBL session illustrates a wonderful facet of experiencing the LBL state. There is something about the process itself that opens doors between the higher self and the incarnated personality. These doors tend to stay open afterward, so deeper messages can continue to be received months and years later. Some clients describe themselves as having a much higher degree of psychic or intuitive awareness following their LBL journey. As a result, they feel more in tune with their life's purpose and that their life experiences have meaning. Still in deep trance, Kia's insights grow more profound after the murdered Elizabeth goes into the light. By following the light, the soul of Kia Elizabeth moves into the spirit world. There she is drawn at the speed of thought into a room where all time is in stop action. Kia. It's round, and there are 3 people, elders. I see purple, everywhere purple.
Editor's note. Purple is the color most often seen around highly advanced beings who have completed their incarnations.
Lynn.
So, the color coding system is something pretty well discussed in Journey of Souls as well as Destiny of Souls, but it's really broken down in Journey of Souls. It's the hierarchical kind of look at this whole system. It's part of the deception system as well, to give off the illusion that one has more clout over another. It's sad. I want to give a big thank to Knack for the very kind and generous super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother.
Lynn, can you ask them what is important for Kia to know? Why is it important for her to be here in this situation with them? Kia, the one in the middle says I must stop doubting what I get intuitively, to accept it as truth, to not let others diminish what I hear, what I...
Now, I'm sorry to pause this, but, you know, stop doubting yourself. And this goes to something we've talked about before about intuition. Now, you know, I think all of us can agree that intuition is usually more right than wrong, but it's not 100%. It's not. Just like there's been most of the time it does really help us, but it's, you know, it's not 100%. And what are we hearing here at the same time? It's like, oh, you know, just trust it 100%, or trust it more, you know, just 100%, no questions asked. And I think that's the problem, where we just keep giving ourselves over and over and over again. Now, obviously, intuition, it's like just one of those things that I'd rather kind of pay attention and listen to it than not. So, I don't know. It's like this order barking thing that just doesn't sit well.
Soul is real. The one on the right says my higher purpose here has not been accomplished yet. That it ties in with Evan somehow, with Evan being taken from me.
Editor's note. Frequently during a council meeting, the elder in the middle is visualized as the moderator or chairman directing the meeting.
Lynn. Yes, go on. Kia. It has to do with spiritual pursuits and helping others, beliefs that are unorthodox compared to how I was raised. It's going to raise eyebrows where I am, you know? Starts crying. They brought Evan in. I can hug him for real. I feel so good. I miss him so much. I can feel him and I hear him in my normal life, but this is better. Long pause and sniffles. The one on the left says this is for strength and courage. Lynn, to help you build strength and courage by having this visit with Evan, is that it? Kia, yes. Lynn, is there anything that Evan wants to say? Kia, that he loves me, that he is helping me, that we agreed to this a long time ago, that it's important.
Agreed.
He's still here, but I knew that. They are showing me how it was all arranged. Evan went in someone else's place. Someone else was going to die that day. Lynn, Evan took that spot? Kia, yes, because it would serve dual purposes. It wasn't exactly as we had talked about before we incarnated, but by taking someone else's place, he saved 5 people.
It wasn't exactly as it was planned before we reincarnated. Begs the question about what was planned and how did that change?
His place, he saved 5 people.
So we have the hero.
Editor's
part.
note. Notice the similarity here to the case in Chapter 3 in terms of untimely death. In choosing a life where the probability for an early death in the next life's body is high, souls must consider carefully if they want to attach to such a body. The karmic patterns for learning in this case bridge more than one soul experience and may, as Kia states, serve dual purposes. Also, consider that Evan tells us that he is going to get brownie points in heaven for taking such a short-term assignment. As I have said, some souls call this a filler life, which is considered in the afterlife to be a very unselfish, generous act. The saving of 5 people through Evan's actions that cost him his life was brought about by Evan sensing that a male passenger in his car had evil intent. This man was on his way to murder a storekeeper and his wife and 3 young children over an earlier altercation. By stalling, Evan did not take the killer to his destination, and an intense fight ensued where Evan was stabbed and his cab set on fire. The police subsequently arrested the murderer. Thus, we can see that not only was a courageous soul chosen for this assignment, but a strong and tenacious human body was working in concert with the soul as well. While it is true that much evil in the world is not prevented in this way, the karmic influences of our misdeeds do follow us in one form or another.
Okay,
Lynn,
so...
does that bring a balance to the situation?
Whoa, okay. All right, so, you know, they're courageous or, you know, a filler life, things like that. The whole thing screams massive loosh project to me. I don't know about you guys, but it just screams it. It's like if you have someone who is supposed to die violently or early or like in a situation where they are being perceived, where they're being possibly perceived either as a hero or even if it's just kind of like a weird thing that the life script kind of dictated and it's just like a one-off type of murder without any hero kind of thing going on, it's still it's sick. It's sick. And you got to ask the question, why are they considered, you know, these, you know, like they're going to get brownie points in heaven? Why is that? Because they're feeding the loosh machine. They're dying a horribly painful and traumatic death in exchange for brownie points. And then what's going to happen? Oh, you're going to reincarnate, maybe do it again, or you're going to reincarnate either way. I mean, what the hell is that? All right, I'm glad you don't hear the fan. Okay, good. Because the mic looks like it's picking it up a little bit, but as long as you don't hear it, cool.
Balance to the situation somehow? What was Evan's motivation? Kia. Evan has a sense of humor. He says, brownie points in heaven. You have to know him. He's a wise guy. Lynn. Does he have anything else to say about this, or about any other aspect of this life? Kia. He says he is sorry he was such a difficult teenager. Silly boy. Lynn. Anything else? Kia. That today is only for reassurance. He says, tune in next week for the rest of the adventure. I told you he's a wise guy. And he is singing a commercial. After these messages, we'll be right back. Lynn. So this brief visit with him is for reassurance, and the next time we come to the higher planes, there will be more. Is that what he means? Kia. Yes. Lynn. Do you feel that is true? Kia. Yes. This beautiful exchange between a loving mother and son is a great example of how real these interactions feel. In an email to me years later, Kia expressed that her meeting with Evan, standing in front of the elders, was more real than being in my office. She went on to say, I felt the sensation of physical embrace.
And how often do we hear that in NDEs? Really important. It was more realer than real. It's more real than anything usually experienced here on Earth. I mean, it's the same type of thing. It was more real than they can put words to.
Kia expressed that her meeting with Evan, standing in front of the elders, was more real than being in my office. She went on to say, I felt the sensation of physical embrace, even though we were both in spiritual form. The feeling of all-encompassing love is truly one that words cannot adequately convey. It was bliss and peace and joy and hope and renewal and understanding, all in a fraction of a second. It was awesome. In Kia's second visit to the between lives state the following week, she once again finds herself in front of the 3 elders. She asks them what the true purpose of Evan's murder was and why she had to go through such pain from losing him. Kia. They say it was a means to become more spiritual.
Yeah.
Lynn. What is your purpose in the future? Kia. That avenues of psychic awareness are opening for me since Evan died. The elders say I should get out the word to the world that life doesn't end at death. Not only life, but also personality. That we don't need to fear it, death. People need to know it's not harps and angels. It's different than what the church teaches. We don't cease to exist. There's comfort in knowing that you are still you. Not a new message, of course, but many still don't listen. Lynn. And your overall psychic development? How does that fit into the process? Kia. The one in the middle says it's always been there, but I didn't use it, and now it's necessary to use it. Lynn. Would that one in the middle say that most, if not all people, have latent psychic power, latent psychic potential? Kia. Absolutely. The one on the right wants me to know that one person can make a difference, and we all own that power. Lynn. Do they have anything else they feel it would be important or helpful for you to know right now?
I bet they do.
Kia. The one in the middle says, as hard as it is to acknowledge, Evan's death truly was a gift. And that...
A gift. A gift. What type of clown show bullshit is this? I mean, seriously. It's just... And you know, why do you have to experience it? Because it'll help you aid in your spiritual growth, of course. Right? It'll open you up more spiritually. And then where is it going to open you up more spiritually? Inside the matrix system. Wow. How perfect is that? How convenient. Everything is set up in such a way that you just keep falling right into the same trap over and over. Really? How much more could it be spelled out?
Be able to do what I came to do. Lynn. Does that feel true to you? Kia. Yes, but I still don't like it. Lynn. Do we have to like it? Kia. No. Standing here with them, it makes sense, but sometimes standing at the cemetery, it doesn't make sense. Lynn. I understand this situation. Is there anything they can do to help with that? Kia. By being more spiritual. It is during the most painful and challenging parts of our lives that we tend to question what the plan for our life is, and if there is a plan. It is so hard in those moments of pain to make sense of events, to find meaning inside the anguish. And yet, it is often the agony that drives us to fulfill the central purpose of our life. Many people looking back on the effects of tragedy in their lives conclude that there was nothing else that would have been a strong enough motivation to change, that the most extreme suffering was needed to drive them toward their soul's mission.
It was needed.
This is especially so for Kia and for others who have lost the person most dear to them. After Kia's meeting with her elders, she is left alone with her personal spirit guide, Miguel. He continues the process of supporting her movement into acceptance of the unacceptable. Lynn, what does Miguel have to say right now? What is his important message to you now? Kia, Miguel. Don't be afraid of what's to come. Lynn, do you understand what he is referring to? Kia, I think so. Lynn, can he clarify it so you have no doubt whatsoever? Kia, Miguel. There are going to be changes coming. Changes in career, changes in outlook, changes in priorities, and some people are not going to like it. Some people are going to criticize, and some people will turn and walk away because it doesn't fit with their beliefs and what they thought in this lifetime. Lynn, how are you to deal with that? Kia, Miguel. Don't be afraid. 3 years later, Kia tells me that she felt complete understanding when she was with the elders, even though she couldn't fully put it into words at the time. She reports that although she could not bring that full level of realization back with her to the physical plane, much of it did stay with her. She explains that before her LBL sessions, she had felt compelled to visit Evan's grave 2 or 3 times a week. Afterwards, she knew he wasn't there in his grave. She still visits once or twice a month just to be sure the grave is tidy and well maintained, but the quality of the experiences are much different, less painful, and more peaceful. During our work together, Kia was able to find much satisfaction and answers to the questions that had been haunting her since Evan's passing. Her elders and guide telepathically explained much, all in kind and loving tones.
Wow.
She could feel the love and compassion they directed to her.
I bet.
She was allowed to review her life selection, her plan for her current life.
Remember, they directed things to her. Basically, an energy transmission that is rooted in manipulation and deception. So it's giving her comfort, false comfort, and in turn, it helps rationalize the whole experience as if it's okay, instead of just, again, looking at it with the most the most logic and common sense imaginable. I mean, it's just so in our face how blatantly deceptive this entire system is. But yet, the whole God narrative, the guides, the deities, and the soul groups we're linked to, and the council, and all this stuff that is learned here as a way to cushion the blow about what's happening here, to excuse things away. I mean, it's all there. And it's like, this is how sick and twisted this whole system is. I mean, really, this is how deep and diabolical the whole thing goes. That you can have a mother who has a child get murdered multiple lifetimes, and her herself be murdered in a past lifetime, and somehow it's explained away. And as far as like the whole opening them up spiritually and all that stuff, this case is almost over, but I just got a few more things to say. How things open up spiritually. Yeah, I mean, when you go through the death of a loved one, or you go through a process where like a loved one is really sick and terminal and eventually maybe leads to death, or you question everything and anything. You rack your brain about, oh, could I have done this? Could I have done that? Could they have done this? Could they have done that? Could we brought them to this doctor instead, and maybe they would have had a better chance? I mean, there's so many different things you can go through, and it's organic for us to revisit the questions about life and what it's all about. And in those moments, faith is often lost. Faith in what, you would call God, or, heaven and all this stuff, it is lost. So what happens is the Matrix comes to pick up the slack in your time of need. This also applies for things like deep depression and thoughts of uninstalling, all these types of things. Just being at the end of your ropes. And the Matrix, like clockwork, comes in almost every time. I don't think it doesn't come in at all, unless someone is well grounded in their belief in the system. The Matrix is going to step in some way. Could be in a small way, could be in a massive way, but there's going to be some sort of reconciliation within yourself to try and get around all of that. And oftentimes it's questioning everything like at your deepest core. So, like, to me, hearing a story like this, as sad as it is, there is going to be an intervention from the Matrix in some form. No matter how small or big, there's going to be some sort of something that is likely going to occur to try and, reel you back in. or make you think like, oh, I'm having these communications, and I'm having these deep dreams, and they're letting me know they're okay, and or whatever it is, shared death experiences, on and on and on. So there's always something there to pick up the slack if you start stepping on a line and questioning your belief in God or the system or whatever you believe in. Once that foundation starts to crumble a little bit, or in a big way actually, then the Matrix is going to suck you right back in however it can. Again, it's just the constant excusing away. Instead of looking at the big picture and saying, whoa, something's messed up with this whole thing. What's going on here? It's, nope, retreat back into the comfort zone that you've been taught from cradle to grave, or learned, and it's still been a part of through some other belief system learned here. So really, it is beyond diabolical. All right, there's a little bit longer here.
Plan for her
10
current
seconds.
life. Best of all, she was able to visit with Evan for real in the spirit world.
Oh.
The entire process brought her peace of mind that still remains 3 years later.
Well. Brought her peace of mind. Brought her peace of mind. All right, so we are going to go on to the next case. Just have to take just 30 seconds. I just got to go and lower the AC. It's getting really freaking hot in here. So just bear with me just a little bit. I won't be long. Probably like 30 seconds. Okay. My condolences, Thomas. Sorry to hear that. Did that actually happen? Okay. All right. Here we go. The Council of Elders needs a diaper change. Okay. All right. So. All right. We're moving along here. This will probably be the last one for the night. We'll see. Or the afternoon.
18. Manipulating Energy for Healing. By Lauren Pone, Delavan, Wisconsin, and Chicago, Illinois. Master hypnotherapist, Reiki master, NLP trainer, yoga meditation instructor, and past registrar for TNI training. My client, Savannah, age 34, was a
Rowan
lovely young
student.
woman who seemed to have it all in life, yet was confused about herself in many ways. She came to me for an LBL session because she felt her spirit guide had sent her mental messages to get in touch with her inner self. The top 3 things she wanted from the session were, who am I here to help the most? What are the major lessons I am here to learn in this life? And who is my soulmate? In our discussion leading into the session, Savannah revealed that she had a lot of excess mental energy. There were times when she actually wondered if she was mentally ill. She had a great deal of pent-up extra energy and had to run 4 to 6 miles a day to even sleep at night. She rated the severity of this excess mental energy as a 9 out of 10 and remembered having it her entire life, even as a little girl. She never saw a doctor about this, as she thought that there was nothing she could do about it. Exercise was a stopgap measure, and she tried a little meditation from time to time. It became clear that her excess mental energy overlaid other issues. Savannah related that a few times in her life, situations would arise in which she believed she could help someone, and when she did, it made her wonder if she had a gift. She would focus on a good outcome for the situation and meditate on it to assist in problem solving. Savannah gave me an example of one of these situations. Her boyfriend had a golf outing scheduled with his boss, and it was important for him to do well. An hour before the outing, Savannah focused and meditated and visualized her boyfriend hitting straight down the fairway on each and every hole, then sinking each putt effortlessly. That day, her boyfriend, Trevor...
You know what it sounds like? You ever see Caddyshack with the priest? It's my best game ever. It's like in the middle of the lightning and rainstorm, sinking like everyone. Yes, the Father is with me today. Reminds me of that.
Her boyfriend hitting straight down the fairway on each and every hole, then sinking each putt effortlessly. That day, her boyfriend, Trevor, played the best round of golf he had ever shot in his entire life. As we began the LBL session, it was evident that Savannah was comfortable with hypnosis. She easily moved back through time. During her time in her mother's womb, the first interesting clue arose. I questioned her from her soul's perspective. She was very responsive, so I asked her many questions. She affirmed that both her body and brain in Savannah's life were easy to integrate with her soul, and that Savannah had a very sharp mind. She said she brought 80% of her energy into this life, which is rather on the high side. Savannah: I think I needed the energy to accomplish the things I want to do, but oftentimes it's way too much. Lauren: is there a way you could help this body deal with this excess energy when it's not busy accomplishing things? Savannah: through meditation, learning to focus my energy more. Through meditation, I can help other people. It will accelerate my growth, but I don't do it enough. Lauren: is there anything you can do to help accomplish this? Savannah: to get better at meditating, to do it more often, to spend less time with random thinking, just pick one thought and focus on that. Her past life regression was clear and distinct. Savannah was an African-American man, Brian Curtis, with a large nose, mustache, very tall and awkward. It was 1924 in Detroit. Brian was poor, in his 50s, in money trouble, and near the end of his life. When he was 58, Brian was walking along the lakeside, was shot, and fell in. Savannah moved very quickly out of Brian's body with much relief. Savannah: I'm moving up pretty fast. I know where I'm going, toward a light like the sun.
Uh-oh.
Lauren: can you describe what you are seeing and experiencing?
We all know.
Savannah: one spirit, energy, Celeste. Celeste's aura becomes red and takes Savannah's hand and is taking her someplace.
The welcome wagon.
Lauren: is Celeste your guide? Savannah: no, I don't think so. I feel like it's a friend that met me. Lauren: ask your guide.
Notice how she says, I feel like it's a friend that met me. I feel like it's a friend. The welcome wagon is always there on our way out.
I feel like
to
it's a
usher us
friend
into
that
the
met
light.
me. Lauren: ask your guide to come forward. Savannah: It's a female, Orita. There are a multitude of souls behind her. She has a dark blue aura. She reaches out to me, and we join hands. I feel comfort and deep peace. Orita then takes Savannah to the place of rejuvenation to heal the violence of dying of a gunshot wound as Brian in the life just ended. At this point, Savannah reveals her immortal spiritual name, Gret. Gret's aura is red with some green. Orita is helping her process her last life and then leads Gret to a school building with books everywhere. Gret opens a book in another language, which doesn't make sense to her, though she seems to understand what it means. When questioned further, Gret says, "It's about souls from different countries and cultures. It's a way to study people and their energy." She then notices that there is a group of 10 souls with her, also studying. She agrees that this is her working group, and she feels good about them. When asked further about the work they do, Gret replies, "It's hard work." She finds it difficult to describe. It's like studying people in their mind to help them, so you can better communicate with them through your mind. You can do it on Earth, but most people don't know how to do it, communicate without language. All I can say is it helps people through your mind, pushing energy around, I guess. Asked if she's been at it for a long time, Gret replies, "A very long time, actually. It's hard work.
It's hard
I'm
work.
supposed to learn to do it while I'm incarnated on Earth, and it's very hard."
Of course, you're supposed to learn while you're incarnated on Earth and been memory wiped. Yeah, that sounds real simple. But he's like, no, it's really hard. Of course it is, because you've been memory zapped. Up, down, left, and right. Again, the deception. Up front and center and blatant. You can't learn, you can't grow, you can't fix your mistakes of past transgressions or evils that may have been committed in previous lifetimes, or quote-unquote ascend, which I can't stand that word because it just goes straight to the new age, but you can't move on, even though moving on in this whole experience is just a complete fraud, because it's, you know, if you're moving on within the context of the Matrix or ascending within the context of the Matrix, are you really free? No, you're not. You're just following the herd. So, you know, it's just so
hard. Some souls in this group are really good, and I want to be like them. Some aren't so good either. The group sends her the message to lighten up. Looking around, Gret sees Trevor.
Yeah, lighten up.
Trevor turns out to be Celeste, the soul who greeted her at the gate to the spirit world. He is also red. It's a totally red group. Trevor, Celeste, turns out to be her primary soulmate.
Editor's note. The author tells us that both Trevor, Celeste, and Savannah, Gret, are soulmates who display a core color of red. Normally, this means they are most likely level 2 souls, in development with a vibrational energy character representation indicating intensity and passion. Gret, Savannah's soul, also has a color tint of green, which indicates a soul with developing healing capabilities. Her spirit guide, Orita, displays the deep blue of an advanced soul with knowledge and experience.
I ask Gret to expound a bit more on her group's work. She has much hesitancy and gropes for the right words to describe it. Adjust energy to align them, incarnate beings, with spirit energy, to make them faster, to make their energy faster, because when they vibrate more intensely, they feel better. They become open to more knowledge, to learn more. It helps them move forward as both a human and as a soul. It brings soul energy into human form. At one point, Gret feels a lot of concentrated energy in her head that is beyond words and explanations. I ask her to focus on it and breathe with it. Then I ask if this is one of those moments when she is receiving a shift in energy, this higher vibration.
Editor's note. Areas of soul specialization training in the spirit world depend upon talent, interest, motivation, and experience. The soul, Gret, in this story as the client Savannah, appears to be preparing over the long term to be a harmonizer soul. These souls are essentially communicators who balance the energy of both human relationships and events on Earth.
With laughter. I think so. It's kind of cool. I then suggest that she really focus on it and to notice that it intensifies in a delightful way. Savannah becomes very alert and aware of these shifts in energy that Gret is experiencing as a sign and signal so that she understands what she's doing and how to use it. The following dialogue demonstrates a therapeutic spiritual communication between Savannah's human ego and that of her soul mind, Gret. Savannah as Gret. Savannah gets scared, afraid of what others may think. It's kind of strange. So she's always hesitant to talk about things like this with people. Lauren. What's useful to do with the intensification of the energy in her head? Savannah as Gret. I think this is a sign that I'm on the right track. It freaks me out. Savannah is trying to get in the act, but she is tensing up and closing the energy down. Lauren. So, Gret, take a breath, and I want you, as Savannah's higher soul self, to communicate with her and direct Savannah in a way where she can stay open and listen so she can utilize her energy in a positive manner.
Direct her in a certain way. This seems like straight up entity interference. I mean, just the division, right? And we know the guys are involved anyway, so.
Energy in a positive manner. What are you communicating with Savannah at this moment? Savannah as Gret. Stay focused. Lauren. And the meaning? Savannah as Gret. Savannah has too much on her plate for her current brain to stay focused and do the work I need to do through her by her meditation. Lauren. Can you elaborate? Savannah as Gret. For Savannah, having too much on her plate is a way of trying to help people in ways that may not be as conducive as what I can do with my soul mind. Savannah needs to meditate every single day. This will take many years. She'll have to learn more, too, so she can continue to work and help people for longer periods.
Editor's note. Notice how the facilitator allows the client to respond to questions as her own soul. When we disengage from our human ego in this fashion during LBL therapy, soul responses become more enlightened and allow for increased cognition from the inner ego of our minds.
Well, the big problem is you don't know where the organic memories begin and the matrix entity or matrix AI interference, whatever it is, comes into play. And then that's a problem with, past life regressions and life between lives in general. A lot depends on the practitioner and their whole process and all that. So things can vary, but entity interference is a big issue with all of this. So even things like false memories are an issue. Those that have ideas already baked into the cake about what they are to expect in a past life regression or a life between lives, whatever they're going for. These are issues, no doubt. And so the level of reliability is less. But the consistency is pretty damn good as far as seeing the deception and seeing how it's kind of like the same old song and dance over and over and over again. So regardless of whether you have entity interference or not, you're still talking about reincarnation. You're still talking about past lives. You're still talking about the process before you may come here. The things that you need to work on, all the typical garbage that you see throughout a lot of these experiencer types. So, that's where the positive of all this comes into play. But you know, I'm certainly not saying like it's the nail in the coffin as far as the data goes, because it's just we don't know exactly what we're dealing with. But we could say the same thing about NDEs, right? I mean, we know that they're dealing with entities. We know that they're dealing with who, or at least an AI construct, whatever the case may be. And they thoroughly believe that who they are dealing with is actually them. And and the narrative is always the same. You know, you got to go back, or you know, you've got to come to Earth, or you know, you got to go back home, or you need to work on this, you need to work on that. It's always the same thing, over and over and over and over again. That's consistent throughout and does not waver. I mean, it's always there. So, anyways, just want to make sure to point that out.
What does your guide Orita say about all this? Savannah. Orita says I will be better able to help people in their spirits someday, but I have to go through this training first.
Someday.
It's just a lot of demanding work.
Yeah, someday. You've got to go through that training first. Follow our orders, and all will be revealed.
Brett, what can Savannah do on Earth to help Trevor, her partner? Savannah, responding as Gret. He's very protective of his mind, so it is good for Savannah to learn patience in communicating with him. You can't make changes overnight. It takes a long time. I have also learned from this dialogue with my client's immortal soul that Gret has the opportunity to eventually become a junior guide in training with spirits of her own to help and guide. However, she must get through her own training first in the use of energy communication and become much better at it. In closing with the topic of Savannah's soulmate, Trevor, Celeste, Gret has the following information to share with me.
The interesting thing about purple being brought up is, like, if you think about it, it represents the hierarchy kind of here, especially like with like the royal families and stuff like that. Even Prince's song "Purple Rain," you know, like raining, like "Rain Over You." The Who's "Rain on Me," I think that's the name of the song, but I know the lyrics are in there. Purple, yeah, I mean it is an indication of the hierarchical system here on Earth for sure.
On a soulmate, Trevor, Celeste, Gret has the following information to share with me. I have to learn that everybody is different. Each has their own way of using their mental energy, and the more time I spend with Trevor, the more I will learn about how his mind works in this life. Here in the spirit world, he's asking me to get to know him better mentally and take it step by step and not slam him with too much information at once. He wants me to be more gentle and nurturing of his mental needs before I start to teach him. Be patient, slow down, get to know him better, and stick with it. As we near the end of this theme, I see that greater spiritual understanding is helping Savannah learn that she is not mentally ill. She is able to tell me, I'm not crazy. I'm able to use my mind so much and to do so many things. And I see the results of what I do, and I sometimes think that I'm the only one that can do this, and it's good to know that it's part of a bigger plan. Gret is now finished with her working group, and I touch her forehead and suggest she find herself in another aspect of the spirit world. I ask her to tell me where she is. I'm near a flowing river, a river of energy. It's a big open space with colored energy flowing by me.
Here comes the water.
You can reach your hand out, touch it, and feel it go into you. You can learn how to manipulate the energy by touching it as it goes by. The river contains the emotions of souls.
And it manipulates you. It contains the emotions of souls. The whole thing with water, the symbology runs deep. So deep. And on both sides, here and as above, so below, like we're saying in the chat there. It's incredible. If there's something about the symbology with all of that. That's just always there. And you know, we often talk about how it represents the river of forgetfulness, the water of forgetfulness, whatever you want to call it. And she's saying like, oh, it's a collective of what the memories are. Was that what she said? Let me double check here. I think it was memories.
You can reach your hand out, touch it, and feel it go into you. You can learn how to manipulate the energy by touching it as it goes by. The river contains the emotions of souls.
The emotions of souls, and manipulate it. And then you think of what is it, Emoto, and in his work with water and ice and all that stuff, and how our work with, like, if I'm sure some of you tried this or at least seen some of the experiments out there, like where you take, I did it with cherries a number of times, where you can, so you take 2 cherries, you put them under a glass, you're on a Post-it note or something, or a piece of paper, you tape it to the glass. One is hate and one is love. You know, you're talking mad shit to the one with the hate label, and you're giving the other one, you know, all this love and happiness and joy and all that stuff. And I've done it a few times, and every time you're going to see the one that's labeled hate or sadness or whatever, that one will die quicker. You know, it'll go bad quicker. And there's a ton of those examples online too, and you can even try it yourself. And then the whole thing, like we were talking about just a few minutes ago with Emoto and the water experiments and all that stuff, or even some things that you see with sand and how that stuff works. I mean, it's pretty wild. Even like music, we've talked about before on the channel how there was a vineyard I ran across. I think it was in Napa Valley in California. You could probably find this information somewhere, where a guy took a bunch of speakers and lined it up in his vineyard in different areas of the vineyard and tested out music. Yeah, the rice experiment, bit of venom, that's a good one. Yep, same concept as the thing I did with the cherries, same exact thing. And so with the vineyard, it's really interesting because what he did, one sec here, I'm trying to get this up. All right. So yeah, with the vineyard, what he did was set up speakers in the ground all over the vineyard and tried different types of music. I know this is kind of trailing off a little bit, but whatever. Anyways, he'd stick the speakers in and play different types of music throughout the vineyard. Some would be like death metal and classical and you know, rock and rap and I mean, everything you could think of, jazz. And he found, hands down, that the grapes in the vineyard would be a lot more fruitful. They'd be bigger and produce better wine with classical music. And I know there's been a few others that have tested that out. So even if you think about it, what happens at places like, the Royals Palace, right? Or a lot of these, parasitic get-togethers. Oftentimes when there are these state dinners and things, they're playing classical music. Why is that? Because it puts them on a better frequency. There's a reason why this is happening, and it even reflects itself at a place like a vineyard and produces better wine and more fruitful fruit. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So anyways, just thought I'd throw that out there. I know it kind of derailed it a little bit, but whatever.
The river contains the emotions of souls, other souls' energy. Their energy flows into me. I'm not sure how they got it into a river. It's about waist high. You put your hands in this, and you can control how much energy comes into you, and then you can feel the change within. If you put your hand in it for a long time, you get an overwhelming sense of it. When you are in a room with people on Earth, energy comes into you, and you can either let it overwhelm you, or you can just take it for what it is, to figure out that's who they are. I think when I do this river thing, that I'm practicing how to organize their energy in a positive way and give it back to them.
Editor's note. The imagery here regarding a river of energy in the spirit world is a training procedure under the direction of the client's guide, or reader. Indications here are that this is a place of transformation, where souls learn to integrate their energy with animate and inanimate objects. Rivers and pools of water are very symbolic of liquid energy that can be manipulated by souls in training.
I enlist the help of Orita and Greg.
One more thing I wanted to add about water. Interesting stuff. I mean, I've done these experiments quite a few times, and you could do them. They're freaky as hell, kind of like a mirror. You ever start staring in a mirror and seeing all sorts of weird shit appear, like weird faces and all sorts of weird, like your face looks weird. I mean, it's just all sorts of, I mean, it's really creepy. The mirror stuff is weird. All right. But throw the mirror aside for a minute. Other experiments you can do is you can take grab yourself a glass bowl, like a nice big one, throw some water in on there and like a light over it, and you will see faces. You'll see weird stuff appear in the water. And you can even kind of mess with different types of lighting, like not just a white light. You can put purple's actually what am I trying to think of here, like a UV light, a black light type thing. You could put like orange lights, green, yellow, all that, like just mess with different types of coloring, or even combine some of them if you want. But I would start with single colors, and you'll see all sorts of wild stuff in there. So here we have them talking about like, oh, how it, resembles memories and this and that. Well, I think there's no doubt something to it, because you can see it in water. And if you think about it, with water, right? We, like, even, I know this is nasty, but, we all drink water, release water. It goes somewhere. And if you think, like, that keeps kind of happening, some of it obviously evaporates, but what happens? It evaporates, and maybe it cycles itself back down here again. Who knows? And it contains, this is, again, just a guess, but it can contain, like, energy signatures of us inside of it. And so perhaps that's why we see it. I mean, water divination's a big thing. So there's a reason why people do it, because it works. And you can, it can get a little freaky, but especially the mirror thing is just bonkers. But with water, it gets a little weird too. But in my opinion, at least for me, I can handle it a little more. But or a lot more. So anyways, feel free to mess around with it. It's fascinating. But protect yourself too. Set up a circle of protection if that's something you want to do. And it's interesting. It really is. And sometimes you'll see even some beings that you might know too, which kind of goes to the whole intention thing. Like maybe if you're thinking of someone, another kind of, I know we're kind of trailing off here, but another thing, because talking about water, are like things like fog machines and messing with lighting in fog machines. You grab one of those cheap little fog machines, blast it off, and then same thing, apply different colors into the fog. And sometimes you can see all sorts of weird things. So anyways, just thought I'd put it out there. I mean, all this stuff, when thinking about how much water plays a role, it's not bullshit. How it all actually works and stuff like that, that's something else entirely, and I can't answer that question, but because I don't know. But it clearly has its role here, and it's not just some little small thing. It's a massive, massive thing. And yeah. And these are things you can do and test for yourself. Just make sure you're protecting yourself. That's all.
Crowded room comfortably and not get overwhelmed by the variety of human energy. This conversation is enhanced by the integration of Savannah's human and soul egos. I ask if this process of energy manipulation accelerates with touch. Absolutely, these higher spirits tell me. Savannah has to be mindful about those she chooses to touch. Actually, it's more about being in someone's space. I bring up the concept of people who suck your energy and whether she should avoid them. They are a challenge. You learn how to channel that energy, to cleanse and heal it, but only if they are receptive. It can be very difficult to do because you can't do it all for them. In conversation with Gret, we ask for a signal so Savannah will know when to do her energy work and when to move away. When Savannah feels a tightness on her right side, she often thinks she is sick when she feels that, but she's not. It signals that the incoming energy is too much, that there's nothing that she can do at that time. She has to let it go. Savannah will be better able to handle this in time with practice. Learning this signal is part of the reason she came for our session. Gret then moves on to a group of older souls with higher energies. Orita and Trevor Celeste accompany Savannah, Gret. From an LBL perspective, this would be her council of wise elders. They're teaching us how to make everyone on Earth more connected. When you get an idea of where things are going on Earth and where they will go in the future, it makes your work more enjoyable and more worthwhile. What they're telling Celeste and me is that you have to have faith that connection can change everyone, that it will help generations in the future. That's good because one of the main issues Savannah has is that it's so overwhelming. You can't fix everything overnight. Trust. When the group of older souls tries to take Gret somewhere else, Savannah asks me if she should go. Of course, remember, trust. We both laugh. She is taken to the place of the current.
Just remember, trust. Just remember, trust.
In this place, there are big movie screens. With millions and millions of people to choose from, Gret was certain she had made the right choice to do this energy work as Savannah. She also saw big cities and commented that people compacted tightly would have a lot more stress than people who live in the countryside. It's important to do her work in big cities where it's more needed. Gret now returns to her council of wise elders, and there are 4 members seated at a long table. She says, I am told a little about how I select the bodies I am offered before each life and how to take better care of them. Then a council member shows her a locket with a picture of her mother in Savannah's current life. The message was to use her work to help her mother. Gret likes this idea because Savannah's mother is receptive and Savannah can get instant results. They say there's time for play, fun, and joy, but also time for quiet and meditation. Gret recalls her first incarnation and remembers, it was on a much easier planet. It was all mental. We just all understood each other. This was a much easier place than Earth.
A much easier place than Earth. So this is something that pops up in past life regressions, life between lives sometimes. You know, take the word planet out of there, okay? Don't get all bent out of shape just because they're using that word. They're using that word. It is what it is, all right? Plain it. We all know where we stand, or at least most of us stand with that. Doesn't matter. But something we talk about regularly here, and there is some information to back it up, right? That there are other, well, no, there's a lot of information to back it up as far as like different realms related to this place, right? Now, the whole physical aspect of things, like, or material aspect of things, like Earth, like, I'm of the strong belief that there are many, many different, like, again, this is my gut feeling, that there's many different kind of material realities and astral realms, also etheric realm, whatever you want to call it, all different types of realms out there that are linked to the overall umbrella of the Matrix, right? We know, without a doubt, You know, you have Earth, obviously, we're all here, but there are even these constructs that can be visited and repeatedly visited that have a certain look, feel, structure to them in the astral. All right. So why wouldn't there be other material realms? Why? I mean, we're hearing here that it's all mental realm. All right. And it was much easier. Well, perhaps they're not. I mean, we'll have to keep listening because I don't really remember, but perhaps, you know, there's no physical body involved, right? There's no massive, you know, if you don't have a meat suit and all the pain and suffering that comes with it and stuff like that, and the limitations, or as many limitations, I shouldn't say there isn't no limitations because you're still in the matrix, right? You're still buying into the bullshit. So, I mean, I'm just convinced I think it would be really, really silly to think that a system this well thought out is just going to limit itself to one material reality. I just cannot see that happening. And other things that may explain like the different time periods, like that, like where we see brought up, like the Wild Wild West, or even though there's evidence obviously for the Greco-Roman stuff and all these different types of cultures out there, well, perhaps even different timelines are based in different realms, material realms that are similar to Earth. And perhaps you even have a human body. I don't know. But it would be hard pressed for me to think that these types of things don't exist. I just can't see a realm this well thought out, and the astral realm this well thought out, the whole system so well thought out, and it not include other material realities linked to the overall umbrella of the matrix system. The possibilities are endless, and you just have to, you know, it's better to look at it through that lens and be safer, because again, why with the way things, with how methodical and deceiving this whole place is, and how it plays its role in the astral realm, like you just can't I mean, there's just, think about it, like if you're running this place, if you're running the overall matrix system, and you have your worker bees below you who are buying into it as well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why not? Why not? It helps kind of separate you from being too overly invested into your lifetime on Earth. And it kind of puts a degree of separation too, because you'd have these other realms that, yeah, even though they're under the same umbrella system, they're also different. So like, you know, like I could just see them doing that. I really just can't imagine them not implementing something like that. Anyways.
Savannah gets frustrated at how hard Earth is. I think I'm using skills that I learned on another planet.
Oh.
Editor's note. Hybrid souls on Earth with prior experience on other planets often bring skills learned there to Earth in one form or another.
At this point, Gret felt complete with her session, and I brought her back to consciousness as Savannah. When I contacted Savannah 8 months later, I asked her how this LBL session had changed her life. Here is a synopsis of her experience. What has helped me the most was learning what work I have been sent to do in this lifetime. Even before my LBL session, I knew I was skilled at manipulating mental energy, though I couldn't put my finger exactly on what I was doing. Visiting my soul group left such a strong impression on me that I continue to think about it constantly, especially about the river of mental colored energy of real souls. We would practice putting our hands in and try to identify the energy, such as confused, happy, sad, guilty, then to understand and learn about it. The biggest challenge was to heal it in a way that would not affect the true makeup and character of the soul or change it in any way. We would have to be both quick and subtle as the energy continued to flow down the river. In my life on Earth, I use these skills when I am in the presence of someone whose negative energy I feel. It allows me to send them healing energy that harmonizes their being without overwhelming them. I am glad to use my skills to help humanity, even if in small ways.
Or you just think that you are. Meanwhile, they go out and, freaking kill Granny, 12 hours later.
Use my skills to help humanity, even if in small ways. My LBL session has changed my life. I now meditate a minimum of 30 minutes a day and practice sending healing energy to help others and myself. I feel like I'm just getting started with this and will get better over years of practice. Meditating has allowed me to be more focused at work and when interacting with friends and family. Meditation is a mental outlet for me. The more I meditate, the better I sleep at night. I've also become a hospice volunteer and lead bereavement support groups as well.
I'd love to talk to her.
I am able to very subtly heal people's grieving minds. I believe this is a continuation of my soul work. I used to feel pulled to do something and wasn't clear on how it would help others. Since my LBL session, I am better able to trust my instincts. I know that there are more intelligent beings who have confidence in me and are leading me in the right direction. I also know that there are more advanced souls who are guiding and teaching me how to help others. Thinking about my
I know that there are more advanced souls, again, the hierarchical system coming in at a fever pitch, that, they're looking out for you, they're helping guide you, and keep you on the straight and narrow inside the teachings of the Matrix. Well, how about that?
Definitely keeps me motivated to continue the work I am supposed to be doing in this lifetime. It was an unforgettable experience.
I bet it was. All right. Looking at the clock. Yeah, we could sneak one more in. We'll sneak one more in. I'm just gonna take a quick break. All right. I didn't think we'd be able to, but I'm pretty sure we can get through the next one. All right, so let me just take a quick break. I don't know if I'm going to be the full 5 minutes, so feel free to just stick around. I'll at least be 3 or 4, but we may come back sooner, so I'll be with you shortly. Thanks so much. This channel is for educational purposes only, or perhaps entertainment purposes only. And it's important for you to make up your own mind and do your own research, come up with your own conclusions. A few more things. The Laughing at the Clown World Matrix channel will start streaming probably within the next couple weeks, so feel free to subscribe. That's only going to be available on Rumble and Odysee. You can find the links to that in the description tab, and may be able to possibly post them in the chat for you as well, but in the meantime they are in the description tab. You can find those easily. And I also have memberships available on Odysee and YouTube, where we do a monthly members live stream every month, and there's a backlog of a few years of content also available. And I also have alternative ways if you're looking to support the channel as well, through things like Stream Elements and Stripe and YouTube super chats and super thanks, and then I think on Odysee they call it hyper chats, and then Rumble has their own thing. So the platform that takes the biggest percentage is always YouTube. I know some of you have asked that in the past. So usually the best one is Stripe, and then followed by Odysee, Rumble, and then YouTube is the last one. So your support's always appreciated but never expected. I also have an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and an email list. You can find the email list pinned or in the chat of the channel of tonight's stream, and that's one way for us to stay in touch just in case something should ever happen. I also have a Truth in Gaming channel available on Rumble and YouTube. We've been over there quite a bit recently, and there's some new series that are going to be coming out on that channel as well. I want to give a big thanks to KSP for helping out and purchasing a game that a number of you have recommended, which is the Amnesia game, and well, lo and behold, amnesiac actors in the chat too, so how about that? Anyways, we'll probably be getting to that in the next month or so. So apparently it's jam-packed with a lot of truth bombs regarding the Soul Trap, so I'm looking forward to going over that with you on the Truth in Gaming channel. All right, so that's enough of that. And okay, this is the last one for today, and let me just kind of give you a heads up as to where we stand in this series before we move along here. Okay, so we are, let's see, track 20. We've probably got about 4 or 5 more videos in this series, roughly. So should be around 10 or 11 streams in total to finish out the series. So, all right, let's just get along with it. Put that up just as a way to get the timestamps up, and I want to thank anyone who's helped out with the timestamps in this series and other videos. I really appreciate it. Just kind of been doing, health has been a little bit off, so I really appreciate all the help from each and every one of you who've put in the time to assist with that. All right, here we go.
A Renegotiated Soul Contract by Andy Tomlinson, Corfe Mullen, Dorset, England. Psychotherapist, author of articles and books on LBL, and training director for Past Life Regression Academy. This chapter illustrates quite clearly that through the experiences of past life and life between lives regressions, clients can experience many levels of healing and deep understanding. This story demonstrates that it is possible to gain freedom from physical pain and fear as soul lessons are recognized and accepted. It also underlines how we can learn to compare and contrast the perspectives of the human mind and the immortal soul. When I first met Dean, I was impressed with his bright, cheerful nature and broad smile. He was a senior marketing manager for an international bank and had just joined one of my past life regression therapy training workshops to discover more about the subject. He explained that he first started experiencing a pain in his left testicle, groin, and lower abdomen early in 1998, shortly after starting an extramarital affair. In his words, "The pain was strong to excruciating, and I would experience it for 1 to 2 weeks. Then it would disappear for a few months. During 2000, the pain became constant and would at times have me doubled over. One testicle shrank in size, and this is what finally made me see the doctor. I was referred to a urologist and underwent an MRI, 2 CT scans, an IVP, intravenous pyelogram, and 3 ultrasounds over the course of the year. They couldn't find anything wrong with me and told me to take Advil, medication for pain relief, for 30 days. The pain in my groin and testicle came and went, but generally there has been a low level of discomfort with the occasional flare-up. I described it to my wife as being like someone driving a nail through my testicle. These past couple of years, it has been much more manageable. But
you telling me you got to go through years of that? Yeah, mine is hurting too. Jesus Christ. But it's a learning experience, guys. It's a learning experience. Hey, yo, your nuts gotta get pummeled in order to learn and extend here. Hey, you ain't gonna be walking here.
Minutes as the workshop drew closer.
Jesus Christ.
On the days of the workshop, it was very painful.
What the hell?
During the workshop, Dean asked for a regression to discover if a past life was contributing to his pain. He regressed quickly into the life of a Roman centurion during the time of a civil war.
Oh, boy.
And after the session, this is how he described what happened. I entered the past life at the point of death, where I was being held down by a few of my men. One had his foot on my neck, another a foot on my right arm, and one was standing over me and had just plunged a sword into my groin.
Oh, my
Previously,
God.
the one with the sword had cut off my genitals and held them up to me and had said, "You can't do much without these, can you?" He threw them to the ground and stamped on them.
Dude.
During the healing process within the
During the healing process? During the healing process. You're not going to be healing from that process. There is no healing process in this scenario. Jesus Christ. What? Your nuts need a lesson. Oh, my Lord. Oh, I don't even know if I can continue. Oh, Christ. Probably should have saved this one for the next stream. All right. All right. Breathe. Christ.
During the healing process within the regression, I experienced body therapy from you. Dean is referring to Andy, the facilitator, so that I could use my hands to experience pulling out the sword and bring my body pieces back together.
Oh.
Doing this felt wonderful, as if my body was being made whole again. Later, I experienced meeting my spirit guide, who explained that in that life I had raped and pillaged. Those wounds had been carried over into this life and had been activated by the energy I was putting into my sex life outside marriage. It also acted as a reminder of when I'm doing things that take a whole lot of my time and focus away from achieving my life purpose. Editor's note. This author believes that transformational body movement in a past life regression is useful by some therapists to assist healing, because movement often goes deeper than words or visualizations and is very empowering for a client. This technique may be used when trauma or recurring unexplainable pain occurs. Understandably, Dean was quick to book a personal LBL session to discover his life purpose. In deep hypnosis, he first regressed into a past life, that of a 19th century merchant who had just received disastrous news of the loss of his ship in Africa. Previously, he had signed a business contract, and this news meant that his family business would be taken from him. Drinking heavily in a tavern to console himself, the merchant was set upon by 4 thugs and killed in the ensuing fight. The LBL regression is picked up at the point at which he first meets his spirit guide. Dean. He's asking me if I am ready to learn. Andy.
Are you ready
And what
to
you
learn?
say? Dean. I say yes, because I don't understand. He says that I am here because this is where I am meant to be. And while things may not make sense, I will one day have understanding. This life was to learn that hard work does not always have a reward, that you are not always rewarded for the things you do, and what may seem unfair is just a perception. He's asking me to think about that statement, because he senses I still don't understand. Andy, ask how you get that.
You gotta ask. ASDS says, imagine signing up for torture before incarnating. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how do you think they pull that one off? See, now, this is part of, this is part of your learning experience. And, I know it sounds a little harsh, but you'll be all right. And it's just, this is where we're at, and it's your turn to go down. Oh, just think about the amount of loosh that whole thing produces. Holy cow. That's got to be a loosh extravaganza. You have jeez. I can't even imagine. The system must love it. Oh, Christ. All right. Gonna try to make it through this.
Seem unfair is just a perception. He's asking me to think about that statement, because he senses I still don't understand. Andy, ask how you get that understanding. Dean, he's telling me to look at that life and the things that happened. He's showing me my life. Andy, in what sort of way is this being shown to you? Dean, the view is a living room, but I am not in my body. I am watching myself sitting at the table with the contract, and he's asking me to isolate a single point of that evening when I originally signed the business contract, which showed where good intent was rewarded or had a good outcome. Andy, and what do you say? Dean, I'm starting to understand. At the time I was young and looking to please. I was pleased to sign the piece of paper and take possession of a person. My father-in-law was quite happy to bargain for his daughter. Each step along the way and each moment during that evening,
Bargain for
the
his
word
daughter.
seems harsh, but atrocities were committed. Andy,
Yeah, welcome to Earth.
can you explain what atrocities means? Dean,
What?
in the context of my father-in-law trading his daughter for what he perceived was a financial gain through a manipulative contract, it gave him certain controls at certain points in time over my family's company, and ultimately their fortune and hard work. The atrocity is that a human life could be bargained for that. The atrocities that I committed. I was prepared to walk in and enter that contract, together with the possession of a human life, and not really know the extent of the potential damage I could do to my family.
That contract, I was ready to walk into that contract and didn't know the damage that I would do to my family. See, wow. Just to talk about convoluted to the max. And this is just just imagine, this is just one example, guys. One example of, he's asking, what are the atrocities? This is one example of the insane atrocities that happen. Not only did he violate somebody and sexually assault them, but he also, had the what going on with these. So there's no explanation. There's no explaining any of this away in any rational mind. Really, this is an interesting case in and of itself to bring to anyone who wants to just say like God is all about love and this and that. I mean, it's a great case to show, because it shows how sick everything is on many levels. How can any rational individual hear this and think that, oh, everything's about love? God loves you, Jesus loves you, everyone loves you, your guides, your soul group, your council, everyone loves you. It defies logic. This is one of those cases that, you like, anyone starts explaining the reality, well, okay, well, check out track 20 off of Michael Newton's Memories of the Afterlife, then come back and talk to me, or play it right in front of their face. Jesus.
Work. The atrocity is that a human life could be bargained for that. The atrocities that I committed. I was prepared to walk in and enter that contract, together with the possession of a human life, and not really know the extent of the potential damage I could do to my family, to myself, to the people around me. Also, the family that I was going to create and I hadn't even thought about at the time. But now my signing that paper made my children's life conditional. It made my family's independence cut in half. It signed away people's work, people's livelihoods, and people's lives. And I had no authority to do so. I understand. I understand the message now. This past life review illustrates how we are our own judge and jury of our lives' events. The role of a personal spirit guide is to help us understand the events and what happens when things go wrong, because this forms the basis of future life planning. It's worth considering the statement of the spirit guide that hard work and good intent are not always rewarded. From our earthly perspective,
hard work and good intent is not always rewarded. It's not always rewarded. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so it's like, hey, you've got to come down, and the only way you can learn is through, going through atrocities and committing atrocities. So that good, if you're trying to be good, remember, this is a prime example of how the system cannot be pleased. You cannot please it. This is it, on a platter for everyone to see. Sick.
From a soul perspective, our earthly decisions and the consequences are seen as learning. Editor's note: there might be some confusion with the listeners over the use of good intent in this case. While taking a man's daughter in a barter arrangement for business advantages is not a good intent on Dean's part in a past life, the author explains that trying to make one's business and personal life successful is good intent from Dean's viewpoint. The larger issue mentioned here is that hard work and good intent are not always rewarded in the life of anyone. This, of course, is true, because one must consider karmic influences from our deeds over multiple past lives, and not just our current one. We now move to the point when Dean, accompanied by his spirit guide, is about to meet his soul group, whom he calls his counseling group. Dean: I'm sensing a large room. Andy: describe the room. Dean: it has no walls, no ceiling, and has a table that is carved into the bottom. It has chairs lined up on either side of the table, and at the head is a larger chair, and also at the other end. The chairs are pulled back quite a distance from the table, except for the two at either end. Andy: do you know what this place is? Dean: a counseling room. Editor's note: not to be confused with a council of elders meeting room, in a different, non-threatening setting in the spirit world, in which soul evaluation by a group of highly advanced wise beings takes place. In the case of this client, what we have here could be described as an intervention group of Dean's soul companions, brought spontaneously into a current timeline to discuss Dean's life contract. This is a very effective technique, sometimes used by elders or spirit guides in life between lives regressions, to give a more profound understanding. Listeners should be advised that while guides and elders are very benevolent in their relations with incarnating souls, our soul group companions are not above teasing and criticizing our shortcomings, while also praising us for a good performance in life. Andy, are you by yourself? Dean, no, I am sitting in the small chair, and my spirit guide is at the tall chair. Andy, and what else is happening? Dean, I am experiencing fear. This concern is coming from Dean's mind. This is the point that we have been waiting for. My spirit guide is communicating with me telepathically, very patiently, and saying that I am the one that must make the first call. It is time for me to bring the plan in. Editor's note. In a pure soul state of light energy, we don't see the sort of emotion generated by the central nervous system of the human body. Thus, when a hypnosis client such as Dean is visualizing being in a soul state and expresses strong emotion such as fear, this is an interpretation based on human feeling of the action and involves human emotional transference. All of our research indicates that such negative sensations as fear do not truly exist in the afterlife. Andy, what's this plan your spirit guide has referred to? Dean, this is my current life plan. I am asking why I am feeling this fear. Andy, and what are you told? Dean, this is the fear I have felt for so long, and I have felt for many lives. I can sense this mischievous nature that I have sensed before. I've brought fear into this realm, because this is the fear that I have kept on experiencing and using as a crutch and avoiding it at all costs. I brought it in to show how silly it is. Andy.
Silly? Silly? I don't think this is silly. What the hell? What a way to just minimize it all. Wow.
You? Dean.
It's freaking horrific.
My mother. My son. Oh, there's a friend. She is Gloria now. It's my father. Oh, God, that's my wife. That's my wife's ex-boyfriend. That's one side of the table complete. Andy. And the other side? Dean. My grandmother. 2 of my aunts. There's an ex-colleague of mine. It's Maurice. And there are 3 that I just don't recognize.
Good old Maurice.
Andy, tell me what happens. Dean. They are all smiling. There is the increasing sense of the mischievous towards me. I say, why can't I catch up?
Wow, so they're trolling.
My mother's saying, we have all been very patient, and you can take as long as you like. While you are learning to take this step, we are off doing other things. It is of no consequence, but we will have to move on. This is the plan that you said would be best suited to bring us all close to you. You wanted us all to be there to touch you, to be close to your life, and in that way you would be able to do it. They really are laughing at me.
Wow.
She is referring to the fact that...
Wow. 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 They're all laughing at me. Laughing.
You would be able to do it. They really are laughing at me. She is referring to the fact that so many of my current soul group are close relations, so that they would be there to pop in and pop out of my life as I grew. My aunt just stood up and said, each of us has given you a message in this life. You seem to understand each of these messages, yet you look at the message. Dean nods his head in agreement, and you insist on more. She says I am not going to get any more messages. Andy, do they remind you what those messages are? Dean, they laugh at me again. My spirit guide says, you know the messages. Why go through this? Andy, what happens next?
Yeah.
Dean,
why go through this?
One of the souls that I am not familiar with is pushing a jigsaw that is completed and says, solve the puzzle. Andy, what does this...
Wow, talk about some manipulative bullshit. I mean, really. someone someone he doesn't know. I mess with the jigsaw. It's like, oh, figure it out. Figure out what's up with this cryptic type of stuff. And then he's being laughed at. Yeah, probably being laughed at because they're trolling him with a life of horrors. And he's committing atrocities, and I mean, just,
Continue to make fun of me. The puzzle is solved. There are no missing pieces. My spirit guide has told me to make sure that I am well entrenched in my earthly body, as I am not advancing.
Yeah, be well entrenched. Stay, stuck in that human mindset, that human experience, that primal way of looking at things. It'll pay off, I promise. You're so close. You need another like 500,000 lifetimes, but you're getting close.
Andy, and is there something that you have to do? Dean, it is my writing. And particularly, it is the method that I intend to write books they are calling A Backdoor into the Subconscious. Andy, tell me a little more about them. Dean, I have all the stories within, and I have the skill to bring the stories out. My goal is to assist in the increasing of awareness, because a lot of energy on Earth is getting stuck, just as I am, by continually looking for the easy way for everything. There is no one shift in awareness that is going to happen. It is a gradual process, and I need to write stories for the people to pick up the awareness.
Gradual, very, very gradual.
So now Dean understands his life purpose and its importance. It is interesting to note that this session switched from the soul memories of the events between lives to a real-time interactive review of his current life and his difficulty in engaging his life purpose. This is one of the powerful ways in which LBL regression can help clients. Rather than waiting until the end of the life to have this sort of review, it can take place in the middle of a life. Doing so can bring soul awareness to the conscious mind and accelerate the possibility of soul advancement.
Oh, it can accelerate the possibility of soul advances. What are they going to do? Chop off your toes next? I mean, what the hell is going to happen next time?
To understand the fear that had its origins in the merchant past life and was diverting him from his current life plan.
Involved with traffic.
As the session continues with his spirit guide, we will see that some of the obstacles to achieving his life plan are discussed. Andy, how are you going to be able to recognize your soul group? Dean, there will be an eventual awareness. It will take me a long time. That's why they pop in and out of my life. And that's why they are part of my family.
Yeah.
I will recognize them as symbolic of the issues I see at different times of my life. There's my brother. He will show me very clearly at one point that a lack of money doesn't mean a lack of contentment or a lack of purpose, that he finds a way regardless. My son, he will show me the unmistakable image of the love that I seek. Andy, is there anything more that is discussed at this point? Dean, my earthly obligations to my family, keeping them clothed, fed, educated, and housed in a manner that I dreamed of.
Yeah, sounds exactly like the type of guy, geez. It's like, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those stories you hear about, what was it, like the serial killer, like in the neighborhood, like the picket white fence and everything, we never suspected him, or we never suspected her to do this. Oh my God, we never knew that. Meanwhile, like, they have like a run-of-the-mill, everyday family life, treat their wife and children like gold or something, and like they're out like, slaughtering people on the weekends. I mean, it just seems like something like that.
May or may not happen the way I planned. My spirit guide is aware that my conscious mind has difficulty processing what I can perceive now as an abandonment of my obligations to my family.
This is all has to do with the horrid experience of the meat suit. How it is, we are so dumbed down. Our processing power, our ability to make, like, perhaps rational choices. Then you add into the fact of the environmental issues, early childhood development, everything happened, all the indoctrination happening from cradle to grave, regardless of what time period you grow up in. It's always there. The manipulation, the deception, all this stuff. And then eventually you end up with a shell of who you are. And either you're going to make the right choices and not commit evil deeds, or you're not. Or, I mean, or you are. I mean, it's just so sick. And then you have those who are just so innocent, at least in this lifetime. I mean, all the things that happen to children on a daily basis that go on out there, right? And yet, like, basically the answer as to why those things happen is because, oh, it's their past karma, or these are things that, like, they needed to work on. They needed to suffer and be human trafficked and have all these horrible things happen to them because, hey, it was your karma from last lifetime or last lifetimes, or, you know, like, this is where you are in your journey, and to excel the process a little bit and move along quicker. Well, if you come down and, you know, don't have running water, running clean water, you don't have a toilet, you don't have a sink, you don't have an oven, you don't have access to food, all the, you know, you have a abusing family or whatever, it's all right. It's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's insane. The pinnacle of insanity. Honestly, like, these things, like, I don't know if any of you happen to listen to the Destiny of Souls, but I completely lost my fucking shit in that series. Lost my mind. I was doing a lot of videos too, like in a shorter period of time, so it just lost my mind. Like, the insanity and how everything is just so easily explained away. Like, it's just nothing. Like, it's nothing. All this is normal. It is a clown world on steroids multiplied by infinity and then some. It's nuts. Totally nuts. And we're all in this freaking fishbowl clown show firmament illusion monstrosity together. Just I don't know. Let's just move on. I could just feel like swearing a lot right now, and I'm not going to.
Within me.
Yeah, Stockholm
That achieving
syndrome
my
for
purpose
sure.
in life can get in the way of my primary obligations.
That's it, Bed of Venom.
I understand.
It's sad.
I understand. I understand. Andy, and is anything discussed at all about what happens if you aren't able to follow your purpose? Dean, yeah, I know. Someone else will do it. I will be left behind with another spirit group. And once again, that really is of no consequence, though I do have a strong urgency to catch up. My spirit got...
I'll be left behind again with the spirit group. So it's the sense of abandonment now. So see, if you don't go and... I'm not even going to say it, but, you know, just think about what's happened. All this stuff that's happened in this episode today, right? This part 6. Think about all this stuff. And then what do you have? The fear, the guilt, the shame, abandonment of the soul group as well. I mean, really, talk about just laying it on thick and just no big deal. No big deal. I guess I'll just have to deal with it, or, you know. No. You could deal with it, but it's better just to, you know, go get your nuts stomped on and all this, you know, whatever happens, right? I mean, come on.
Me. to associate some earthbound emotion with not staying with this group. Apparently, it's part of my relatively low level of spiritual advancement that I want to continue with this group, and it is conveyed to me via my earth emotions, fear, and missing out. I don't really get it. Hang on. It seems there is a time limit on Earth for the message to get out. And he says collectively, right now, there are many individuals who are seeking to form a web across the planet. And it is people like me who want to be part of that web, to touch as many souls as possible before the next wave.
To deceive a web. Okay, this is like, it's an interesting concept. Now, look, I'm not saying that there's anything to this, but something I talked about years ago as a suspicion is that, like, with the light, okay, for instance, like, I think the light is an example, and like just the overall kind of Earth realm experience too. But let's just use the light as an example. Like, kind of my gut feeling, based on after looking at a lot of these experiencer cases, is my gut says like that. Okay, so even though the AI, that there's some sort of AI component to all this, right? I don't think at all that who individuals are dealing with, like in NDEs, like their deceased family members, etc., or anything. You get the point, right? I don't think any of those are who they claim to be, but instead are kind of a processing type of computer illusion that gives off the energy of who they are. But behind all that, I think there is a bunch of parasitic beings and, true essence beings mixed in with like that whole process. It feels like, even though, yeah, there's like some sort of like quantum or AI type computer involved with all this, I also feel that like there's a bunch of entities also like in the mix of the light, maybe helping emit that frequency of love or that frequency of authenticity. There's just something in my gut that tells me that's what's going on, because it's so freaking powerful. And I just don't feel that that's all like an AI computer. I think that there's like kind of like what we were just hearing, like how there's like a web spread out over Earth, which in my opinion would be a freaking like a shield to prevent leakage or to cast down certain energies onto Earth at the behest of the Matrix. I think that could be going on at the light. Again, there's nothing to back that up, but just kind of like a gut feeling. I don't just think it's all like an AI construct every step of the way. I think the interactions mostly are, because it's like they're able to read it, and perhaps there's a facilitation of some sort of being in the process that kind of also takes over and helps in a way, because they have access to all that information that, in the life script and your experience here from cradle to grave. But it just feels like there's like a system in play, also with a layer of beings that are in the know and helping like just make sure things run smoothly, that the deception is essentially like a processing plant, right? I don't know. I know it may be out there, but that's just kind of my gut. In the end, it doesn't matter. We know it's happening. Who really gives a shit about the fine details, right? I mean, who cares? It's happening. We know it's happening. It's provable. We just, the exact mechanisms in the end really don't matter. But I think you have those layers involved where they kind of work in unison together. It's like the beings that are involved with like the AI system, they have access codes to integrate themselves into like the whole process of how this thing emits its energy, whether it's, love or otherwise. I don't know.
Note. Dean is told there is an earthbound emotion, fear, connected with his concern about not staying with his soul group because of slow development. Dean's comment that being left behind is of no consequence demonstrates a bit of bravado on his part. While it is true that the better learners in a basic soul cluster group do accelerate more quickly into new specialized soul groups of similar interests, motivation, and talent at the intermediate levels, all our evidence involving thousands of cases suggests that the slower souls are not shifted elsewhere. Dean may fear this on a conscious level, but the story indicates he does not really believe it. This is because the formation of new cluster groups after creation are not randomly designed. One sees a common denominator of goals in every soul group, and they spend eons helping each other. At the same time, we must always be aware in our work that anomalies may occur in our spiritual conclusions.
Absolutely.
Andy, perhaps ask your spirit guide about these pains in various bodily parts. Are these any form of reminder for you? Dean. Yes, but the reminder is going to be removed. I'm not going to be given a reminder anymore. It's all in my hands. It's my decision now. This is an immensely important point about the physical pain in his testicles and groin being removed. Recall that this was originally a reminder of the energy Dean was misplacing away from his life purpose through sexual pursuits outside marriage.
All right. Listen. I think that's, look, he shouldn't be cheating on his wife or his girlfriend, whatever the hell's going on there, right? That's just, I think, crushing someone you love is not cool. But at the same time, people make mistakes. But also, like, for us to sit here and act like maybe the cheating is the reason, perhaps it is. Perhaps, all right? But what do we know about all sorts of other things related to traumas and all sorts of suffering that occur, or fears, phobias specifically, actually. Fears and phobias, right? It is a proven fact. It's fact, all right, that some fears and phobias that you have, especially looking back as a child, young child, like it could be things like fear of getting in the water, fear of heights, fear of whatever, all right? Those, and they're unexplainable. There's no documented trauma that has occurred in this lifetime to explain why you have that fear. It's proven over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that these things are a symptom of things that have happened in your past life. And if you go to a hypnotherapist, sometimes, again, this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor, not a nurse. I'm not giving any sort of advice. I'm just saying sometimes, or a lot of times, if you go to a hypnotherapist or even past life regression, even just a regular therapist, a hypnotherapist can help you with this. You don't necessarily need a past life regressionist or a life between lives or any of that stuff to do it, but can't hurt. But you can go to a regular hypnotherapist and they can rid you of those fears and phobias where you don't have them anymore. But what's interesting is when you dive into things like past life regressions, life between lives, what you start to see is an example of what we're looking at here. That certain conditions, fears, phobias can manifest themselves, but can be linked point blank to something that's happened in a past life. Why is that? How sick is that? You got to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why can't you get, like, look, even if you have, if you've got to have some baggage. Like, why are they things like deep-seated fears and phobias that can really mess you up? Why are those things prevalent? Why are those things happening? In my opinion, the only explanation is like the loosh factor. It's a subconscious implant that like carries over. It's like the Matrix is zoning in on specific things that it knows you are going to react to in a negative fashion. Could be positive too, but most of the time it's negative. And you're just it's going to affect you. It's going to carry through most of your life unless you are aware things like hypnotherapy are on the table as a possible solution for you, or even talk therapy, maybe. I don't know, but it's incredible how these things can help us. But why are they carrying over? That's the question. Why are they carrying over? Has to be loosh. Has to, or just, for shits and giggles. Remember, they're laughing at him. They're laughing at him through this whole process. He's getting in tune with it, and they're chuckling up a storm. And some of them he knows, and then one entity he doesn't know, and it's just like some big joke. Meanwhile, you have the core suffering going on over and over and over again. Why is that? Karma aside, what's karmic about someone being afraid of in the water, right? What? They probably drowned in the water, right? Maybe they got submerged underwater and almost died. Or why is someone afraid of heights? Maybe they fell off a cliff. Or got tossed off a cliff. So many different possibilities. Or they could, of course, done the reverse to somebody else. That's always possible. And so that fear and phobia is carrying over too. We don't know exactly because it's all based on the individual. But we do know that these fears and phobias carry over and that they can be alleviated, if not completely eliminated, with things like hypnotherapy. It's incredible. And it also goes to the power of the programming of the whole meat suit in general, the meat suit experience. I mean, really, you got to ask yourself, we're so susceptible to these subconscious things. We're so susceptible, but yet, and so programmable, but yet they can be relieved in something like a hypnotherapy session. As long as you're open to it, you find someone who knows what they're doing. Really, it's pretty mind-blowing. All right, we got just a couple more minutes here.
Roman centurion past life. The past life regression transformation work removed the symptoms, but Dean needed to integrate this learning into his current life for a permanent result. It appears that with Dean's deeper understanding of his life plan from the LBL regression, the need for this physical pain reminder has been taken away, whatever Dean chooses to do. This is sole purpose replanning with the consent of Dean's spiritual and conscious self. However, the fear at some level will remain until Dean makes the decision to leave his current career and write the spiritual books in his plan. Editor's note: with the multitude of host bodies souls have had during many incarnations, some have involved painful injuries, mutilations, and murderous death blows. We do see cases of a past life body imprint in current bodies. In this case, Dean's groin pain was a reminder of past transgressions against women linked to his current infidelity. The other interesting insight was the spirit guide's comments about earthly obligations. Of course, we all have responsibilities to others.
See, I find it interesting that it's being chalked up to infidelity when he was a sexual predator. All right? What about that? Infidelity sure could have played a role, but he was also a sexual predator. Come on.
Fidelity.
That's a possibility.
The other interesting
too,
insight
if not
was the Spirit
combination of
Guide's
both.
comments about earthly obligations. Of course, we all have responsibilities to others, particularly our family, but at times they can get in the way of our life purpose. We are being reminded that all souls know each other's life purpose before incarnation. So when we make difficult decisions not to follow our life purpose, the earthly consequences are not a concern from a soul perspective. This is what Dean had to say about his LBL regression and change in his life. The most surprising thing about the LBL session was the clarity of the information I received. I was left with no doubt of what my purpose here is, and what lessons I must learn in order to achieve it. The insight I received about obligations helped give me the courage to prepare for the very difficult step that I needed to take. I have progressively discussed my intentions with my family and others to whom I felt obligated. And while I wasn't particularly seeking support from anyone except my wife, they offered it encouragingly. Since I tendered my resignation from the bank, things just seemed to be falling nicely into place. The pain in my groin has subsided, and I have a strong sense it will not be back. The understanding I have gained from spending time with my soul group has brought a sense of calm. I have reached a turning point in my life, and I have chosen the right direction.
Wow. Wow. I mean, but, you know, yeah, the pain has gone away. But what if he didn't get help through hypnotherapy? What if he didn't know that this was an option for him? A lot of people don't know the powers of hypnotherapy. They don't. That's just the bottom line. Most people, why do you think the system makes it look like a clown show? Like, oh, like everyone's up on stage and they're, you know, they're falling asleep and, you know, all that stuff. Why do you think they make such a joke of it? Or like the common narrative, like, oh, like if you're in hypnotherapy, like you know, they can make you do whatever you want and you can never get out of it. Bullshit. That's all BS. Meanwhile, it's a healing modality. Not in every situation, but you would think that things like that would be promoted to help others, but it's not. It's vilified and made a joke out of. This is the type of BS we're dealing with, right? And it's all over the place. And of course, there's reasons why it occurs, but at the same time, it's just not right. It's not right. Hypnotherapists are essentially individuals who have learned part of the code of the Matrix and the code of the meat suit vulnerabilities. They've figured out how to kind of crack open a certain area that can be beneficial to you. Maybe. Again, I'm not a doctor, nurse, physician, none of that stuff, but these things are out there. And isn't it kind of funny that you can heal yourself from that? Someone could be mesmerizing you, getting you in a certain state, and you can benefit from that. Boy, it's almost like a deprogramming tool, isn't it? Goes to the whole heart of the matter of how sick and twisted the whole thing is. Like the fact that we can be so easily programmed. Really. So I hope you kind of enjoyed today's video and stream. I appreciate you all. I wanted to give a big thank you to Knack for a very kind super chat earlier. And, Jake, welcome to the Last Timers Club. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. And I appreciate you. Also wanted to give a big thank you to, if I could find it. I want to give a big thank you. I think I already mentioned Jeffrey, Penny, and also Rosemary for kind super chats. Also, Delina, I got your message. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Patricia, thank you so much as well for your kind support. And Miss McAvoy, thank you. And everyone else who is a member or have contributed to the channel, I appreciate you all. And also, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you're not already. Hitting the like button or even commenting after the stream does help the algorithm and spread the word about the channel, regardless of what platform we're on. You know, it's all about just getting the word out for those who are receptive. So maybe there's someone on your Instagram or your Twitter or your Facebook or wherever you on social media or even Discord servers, just sharing a video here and there. Maybe certain ones that you connect with may help connect others, and spread the word about what's going on in this crackpot realm we all find ourselves in. So also, let's see. Oh, yeah, I do one-on-one sessions. If anyone's interested, you can find the information in the description tab, as well as a booking calendar if that's something that interests you. If you want to talk about certain things related to the Soul Trap or other spiritual things, I am available. And so, yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And before you head out, please consider hitting the like button. And we will okay, so part 7 will probably be meeting either Friday or Saturday. Okay, so either going to be Friday night or Saturday late afternoon Eastern Standard Time. So if we do Friday, it'll probably be like 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and if it's Saturday, either 3 or 4 p.m. So we will see each other again then. And thank you so much. And take care of yourselves, all right? Don't work too hard. It's been fun. And look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everyone on Odysee, Rumble, YouTube. Appreciate you all. Take care, Rolling Water. Jeff Fields, good to see you. True Detective. Everyone listening over on Rumble. Terry, Shannon, Black Uni, Ken, Mao, Andre, Organic, MH, thanks so much. See you again soon.